Welcome to the Starry-eyed Effect. I'm Steph.
And I'm Brendan.
And I'm Jen. On this podcast, we'll be chatting about all things Williams syndrome.
The ups and downs.
And what it's like living with Williams syndrome.
We're excited to share our community with you. Thanks for being here.
So, hey, Brendan, how you doing?
I'm good, Joel. How are you, buddy?
Good. I'm just going to do the intro here because Jen had some stuff come up, and so she had to skip this little pod meeting. And but she had a great she was part of the first interview.
Yeah, Maddie Woo. She was awesome. Her and I can relate on a lot of things because she rides horses and I rode horses for 4 years, and her dad was really cool and had a lot of really cool things to say. And yeah, this episode is going to be killer.
Yeah. And then we had Cassandra and Kim, a couple of teachers from New York.
Yep.
Who we were put in touch with them from Robin Pegg.
Shout out to Robin Pegg,
friend of the show, Robin Pegg, and and the two of them they're a team. They teach and they have a fully inclusive mixed classroom of neurotypical kids as well as kids with many different disabilities.
Yep.
And in the last 2 years, they've had a student with Williams syndrome, and so it was great to talk to the two of them and listen to how they describe what having a student with Williams syndrome in the classroom, what that does, the challenges it brings up, but also the absolute some of the wonderful aspects.
Yeah, it was such a positive vibe too, and such how they talked in such a positive light. I really
absolutely. All right, so what do you say we probably should just get to it then?
We shall we?
Okay, we shall indeed.
Let's go. Hello, Maddie. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Well, for those who don't know who you are, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do?
All right, my name is Maddie. I'm 20 years old, and I've got Williams syndrome. And I spend most of my day hanging outside with my horse, Mason, and riding horses. It's what I spend most of my time doing.
Maddie, it is so fun to meet you. I had pleasure of reading an article about you, and it's so fun whenever I find little nuggets about people with Williams syndrome doing things that they love in the world. I get so excited. So I was really excited to read the article, and then obviously to meet you in person is a real treat. So you're in Oregon, is that right?
Yes, I am in Oregon.
Okay, where are you at in Oregon?
I'm in Hood River, which is hour east of Portland.
Hour east of Portland. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you like in farm country?
Yeah, it's the Columbia River Gorge, so there's a lot of fruit orchards, there's a lot of wineries, a lot of fruit that's grown here in the gorge.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're with somebody today. Why don't you introduce, for those people who can't see you, who you're with?
I'm with my dad, Aaron. My mom couldn't join us. She ended up going on a whitewater rafting trip in Montana and left 2 days ago.
That sounds awesome. That's a good reason to be here.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
Yes, we're river people too. So there are a lot of rivers here in the Columbia Gorge. So we do a lot of rafting and fly fishing. And Mom got a last minute chance to go on a trip yesterday, packed up the van and drove to Montana.
Oh, that's awesome. Maddie, are you a White River rafter and a fisher woman as well?
Yes, I'm actually going fly fishing with some friends this afternoon.
Okay. So have you lived in Oregon all of your life?
Yes, I have. Well, I was born in Colorado, and then when did we move to Oregon?
2005.
We moved to Oregon in 2005.
Okay. So I'm from Colorado. We were talking earlier. We live in Colorado. Yeah, we're more like northern Colorado, Fort Collins area. Yeah, so that's a fun connection. And Brendan is in Connecticut. So you were born here in Colorado. How old were you when you were diagnosed with Williams syndrome?
Maddie was 6 weeks old when she was going to have a heart valve stretch, like a little angio. And the cardiologist who was going to do the procedure actually stopped and said, I see a couple things. We should reevaluate Maddie's condition. And so he saw the SVAS. So he said, when these two things happen together, there's a syndrome that could be involved. We should stop what we're doing. And that's how she got diagnosed so early on.
Okay. And you were here in Colorado when that happened?
We were living in Telluride.
Okay.
Maddie and her brother Ethan were both born in Grand. We were living in Telluride. So yes, we were living there. And so subsequently, we ended up driving to Denver Children's about 6 to 12 weeks from Telluride, which is about 7 hours. And then after a couple of years, we decided that we should be closer to a children's. And so we ended up looking at all the children's hospitals, like the top 5 in the country, and deciding to go to Portland.
Okay. And that's how you ended up out there. Okay. So how old were you when you moved to Oregon, did you say?
I was born in 2003 and we moved in 2005. So I was around 2.5.
About 18 months.
So you lived predominantly from the time you can remember, you've grown up in Oregon.
I don't remember much of when I was born and living in Colorado.
Right. So how old were you when you started riding horses? Were you a baby getting on a horse?
I was 3.5, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow.
3.5. And I started out at a therapeutic riding center out in the Beaverton area.
Mm-hmm.
And then just kind of pretty much I graduated from the therapeutic riding program. So we moved a couple different barns.
Mm-hmm.
Then can't remember if it was 13 or 14. I was surprised on my birthday with my very own horse.
And is that Mason?
No, that was a different pony named Zoe.
So tell us about how you got from being a baby on a horse to where you are now.
Well, let's see. So we started around when I was 3. So it's over 17 years of being around horses. So when I first started out, it was more of the therapeutic.
Right.
The horses settled up. I had sidewalkers with me.
The walk, trot, canter, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, started learning how to walk and trot. And then first time I learned how to canter, they had me on this little pony named Bear. No lunge line.
Ugh.
I asked for the canter and Bear bolted.
I've been on a horse bolted before, too. It's pretty scary.
It is. So I'm just holding on while he's zooming around the arena.
Yeah, hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad.
Yep.
So after that, I started jumping. And then from there, I started doing pony club around the time I got Zoe. And then I did pony club till I was 18, I think. And pony club's a super structured riding program. Definitely would just look into it kind of for references. They've got the horse side of things, which is all about the care of the horse, but they also got management, safety. Safety is the number one thing with pony club. And it's really important when you're handling animals that are twice your size and 3 times your weight. You need to
know your stuff.
Yeah, you need to know your stuff. But I did pony club, and then I kind of just decided that this wasn't the right fit, and so we started searching for another program. And my mom found a Facebook ad on the Virtus Global Games, and that's how this took off.
She's always been this person who she'd say, I can go out and catch butterflies. But she wouldn't bring a net. She would go out there and she'd come back and butterflies would be covered all over her. And she'd come back to the house and be like, look what I got the butterflies. And they're just on her.
Yeah.
And so ladybugs do that, bees do that, and they just kind of gravitate to her. So she definitely has this connection.
Yeah, I recently went to the local garden store and came home with a couple packages of ladybugs. And
they just like crawling on her.
Yeah, and they were just crawling I was trying to get them into some plants and trees that we have, and a lot of them were just crawling on me or flying off, but ending up landing in my hair. And then I'd have ladybugs crawling around in my hair trying to untangle them. Meanwhile, I had ladybugs just all over me.
So we definitely always pursued the horse, the equine thing with Maddie, and it's been her love. We had horses, but we boarded them somewhere, and one of the big elements of moving from Portland and back out to the country was to have our horses at our property. So,
and I've always wanted that since I was in Portland. I've always wanted to have my own horse and a property where I got everything here at the house, so I don't have to drive anywhere to see them. I can just do it, get up, go out, feed, and just
so they are with
hang
us.
out.
We found a property in Hood River that had a little barn, and it actually has an arena. And so everything's here at home, and we've pretty much structured our house life so that everything that Maddie really needs here, but we're close to downtown. She can ride her bike or take there's a local bus. But we're only about 2 miles from downtown. So it's kind of a good happy medium.
So you graduated high school at the time that you're having this heart surgery, and you qualified for this event all the same time.
So last year, Maddie graduated in June. March earlier that year, she
first week of March, I found out I needed heart surgery.
Yeah, we went and saw a Williams syndrome team at Stanford and got that news. The surgery was scheduled for August.
We went on this huge road trip a week before. We ended up getting all the pre-op stuff done, only to find out that we got a call that night saying that they don't have enough beds in the ICU for me.
They couldn't do the surgery.
So they couldn't do the surgery. So we ended up driving home.
Back home, yep.
They covered a bunch of the bills, though.
So during last summer, after she graduated, while we were preparing for this upcoming surgery, Karen, mom, found the Virtus Global Games, the organization here in the States.
Okay, yes.
It's based in Bend, Oregon.
Yeah, so that's based in Bend, their headquarters. And they were looking for riders to participate.
Okay.
So we found that, got the information, and you do a virtual qualifying. So Maddie trained to do that. By the end of August, September, she submitted her video.
Meanwhile, we had also gone on a rafting trip, and I ended up waking up with a cold. And so while submitting, I was not riding my best during these tests. We had to restart multiple times because
she was very sick.
When I get a cold, I get very, very sick. I'm sure you guys get it. I get the deep cough, super deep wet cough that goes on for months. I'm coughing so much that I have to take codeine with cough syrup at night.
Yeah, I know when it's bad when I start sounding like Alvin the voice gets like very feminine, and I talk like way up here, and it's so bad.
That's how I get, but for me, it's mostly just nonstop coughing. My nose gets so chapped, and I bowed my nose so much that it gets my nose is all scabbed up because it's so chapped. It's absolutely terrible. And so if I don't take a super strong cough medicine like codeine or cough syrup, I go to bed, but I'm up coughing all night until 5 a.m. And then my mom usually comes in and asks to help me because I'm coughing so bad.
You're keeping her awake.
My coughing even kicks my cats out of my room. Like my cats will not get up and leave the room if they're sleeping with me because I'm keeping the cats up with the coughing.
So you're sick and you had to send in this video.
Yeah, I'm sick and there was a deadline to send in this videos. So I'm trying to recover from this cough. My horse isn't at the house. He's at my friend's house.
It was actually a pretty amazing situation. Maddie Qualifying. We had taken the horses to another property because so he was traveling to go qualifying off on really short notice because we just discovered it, but there was a deadline. And
meanwhile,
she was sickly. She was having issues with leg circulation. So the valve issue was that 30 to 40% of the blood was not getting through the valve, regurgitating backward.
And it was my oxygenated blood was leaking into my lungs.
Yeah. So she wasn't getting really good circulation through her body. She did the test, she sent it in, and then she actually qualified. And we found out the day after she came out of surgery that she was qualified.
How long was that from the time you submitted the video?
November. Okay. Well, so she got scheduled for October, and then that one got canceled because she was sick.
I was still sick from that cough that I had gotten while trying to qualify for the Virtus games.
Then finally she had surgery the first week.
Okay. So and that's when you qualified. It's exciting. So you qualified in November, and then how long did you have to like get ready before you left for France?
I couldn't start riding until early February.
Because of
because they put me on a blood thinner and I'm not allowed to do any exercise because if I get any sort of bad cut, blood thinner, would easily just bleed out because of the blood thinner.
So how do you deal with like all the emotions and stuff when it comes to like all the challenges you've had, all the setbacks with?
It was really difficult, but I had my dog Bentley and the cats here at the house, so they would come and snuggle with me. I'd go up to the barn to my friend's place twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week, and I would just take my horse out and on walk. And my friend was super kind. She was riding him while I was recovering, so he was getting work. It wasn't like he wasn't getting like 6 months off. My friend was working him and making sure he was as fit as he could be. And he was used as a lesson horse. So he was getting used quite a bit. And I just let her take the care of him and keep him healthy. And I check in with her weekly on how he was doing. And while I was in the hospital recovering, I was getting pictures from my best friend because her horse is also at my other friend's place. So I was getting pictures from both of them, my friend's mom who does a lot of the feeding while my friend's at school. So it was there was a lot of people helping out.
So it sounds like the animal.
The Dr. Dolittle force is very strong with us. Animals know what is up, but they always know.
They know. I mean, Mason, if I'm not really feeling that great, I'm sure you've experienced going out to the barn if you've had a bad day.
You know, I mean, it's been a long time since I've ridden, but yeah, the horses. They know what's up. Yeah, like, they're very intuitive.
Yeah, there's no denying that they know what.
We have dogs.
And one of the things that you had said before, both of you were talking about how animals are very attracted to you. And I think you do have that kind of nature, right? Where it's very like nature in terms of like your spirit, right? Like animals know that they're like in tune to you and you're in tune to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And so while I was recovering, I could go up and see them, but there was a lot of limit in what I could do because when they do the open heart surgery they basically saw your sternum in half, straight down the middle. So the only thing that was holding my sternum together were these metal wires that they use as zip ties to basically
tie it together
and make sure that it
feels right and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean.
So when was the first time you got back on your horse after surgery? Was it February?
No, I pushed it a bit.
She cheated a little bit.
I cheated a little bit. January I was walking around on him. I think I must have the first time I sat on him and my friend was so kind. She'd ride him and then I'd get on and she would just hand walk him with me on him. So for safety, but I mean, I think I got on him like, I don't know, maybe once or twice around New Year's and I was walking around on him by like mid January, I guess, for like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay. And when did you go? So when then did you go to France?
I went to France in June.
In June.
June. So
About that.
February to March, March to April, April to May, May to June. So I only had 4 months to prepare for this.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about having Williams syndrome is that it makes me different from everyone else I know because none of my other friends have Williams syndrome.
You're the only one.
I'm the only one. So for me, I feel like it's good because my friends can learn who I am because of what I have. And another thing I really like about it is that when I usually go to shows, I compete against neurotypicals. So that makes showing horses for me a lot different and a lot more unique because
to make you feel good.
Yeah, it does.
Makes you feel good competing against people who don't have.
It's pretty awesome.
In the horse competing world, there isn't like here's an event for someone with an intellectual disability. You just all compete together.
And that's great. And do you feel like it's inclusive? Like, does it?
Yeah, I do feel like it's inclusive. And equestrian is the only sport where males and females compete equally as one.
Cool.
There's no male categories or female. Yeah, and that's how it is in the Olympics too.
I'm a special Olympic athlete, so I compete in like swimming and golf, and so I totally understand that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we don't have a developed Special Olympic equestrian program because you have to be in a therapeutic riding center.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's just not as developed on the West Coast as it is on the East Coast.
What are some challenges with your disability, or do you feel like there is any?
I feel like just like making sure people understand what I need in situations and like how hard it is for people to understand my limits.
Right.
Because going back to the heart thing, there was a couple classes that I took that the teacher just didn't understand the limit, my limit. That was really difficult. Specific teacher is just difficult to work with in general, but it was really, really difficult for me and not getting things adjusted to what I could do.
Sure, I bet.
I mean, even mom had a difficult enough time just trying to make them understand what I need.
And you can't be there all the time. There's not always an advocate, somebody who can clearly.
Yeah, I mean, and my mom was trying so hard to explain it clearly.
And some people don't get it.
They just don't get it, and that's frustrating. Like, when you really want to take a class, teacher just doesn't get it. Or he acknowledges, but just ignores what you need completely. I mean, I think that's it. I feel like I've shared my story.
And it's a great story.
I'm sure people will have a lot of questions.
And we want more people to know about you and the great things you're doing. You're shattering a lot of norms, and you're
breaking a lot of barriers, and
you're honoring the community, girlfriend. You are doing a great job. You and your parents.
Yes, I wish mom was here for this as well.
I'm glad she's rafting because she
needs a break.
Thank you guys for coming on today. That was so amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, it was great. It was awesome.
Okay. All right, so Jen had to step away. She's a busy lady. She's very important. She's a VIP. So for this part of the show, dear listener, you're stuck with me. But don't worry, Brendan is here. Brendan's here to keep me in line.
Yes, I am.
And we have two wonderful guests. This goes back to when we had Robin Pegg on to talk about education and teaching, the benefits of classroom inclusion. And she helped put us in touch with Cassandra and Kim. And we are so happy to have the two of you here today, where we can continue this discussion and talk more about classroom inclusion and your experience. So, Cassandra, first I will ask you, could you just give a quick introduction of yourself.
I'm Cassandra Davide. I'm an elementary school special education teacher. I've had the wonderful pleasure of working with a student with Williams syndrome for the past 2 years. Sad to say he's moving on from me, but I've learned so much in these past 2 years. Overall, I've been an educator for about 10 years.
Wonderful. And Kim.
Hello, I'm Kim Scheier, and I'm a general education teacher that was working in the ICT classroom with Cassandra, and also had the pleasure of working with a student with Williams syndrome for the last 2 years, working along with Cassandra in the same classroom.
So you, the two of you are a team, classroom
Yes.
team.
Yes, we are the dream team.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. Love that. Love that.
Could the two of you sort of talk a little bit about how you approach team teaching and how you approach your classroom curriculum and how you both go about setting up a day with a variety of students in your classroom?
Yeah, so we'll start off with the makeup of our class. It was basically the same for 2 years. It was 11 students with IEPs and then 11 students without. So, and each of us have our strengths that we like to work on. So Kim is a curriculum master. I'm the differentiation and technology master, but it also helps because Kim has a special ed license as well. And she worked previous to being, she could tell you more about her career path, but previous to teaching in a gen ed setting, again, she was a special ed consultant teacher, resource room. So, there's kind of a special spark that happens when there's two special ed teachers, but we also have the gen ed side of it. So it's been really special. Kim will come in, usually 10 o'clock text or 4 a.m. text of, I have this great idea. And I'm like, okay, Kim, let's go. And then we kind of work through it and figure out how to differentiate it, put it on a computer for the assistive tech friends that need it in the classroom, those type of things. But really it's,
we say it's like a marriage, right? Like we throw an idea out there and then we just sort of work through it together, with all our expertise in different areas, sort of all of it coming together to make this, these amazing units of study, to meet the needs of all the students in our classroom. So, we're having different strengths and we both have different weaknesses, but we seem to gel together like a marriage and, so that we can develop the strengths and weaknesses of our students.
Yeah, 100%. And, we were always planning with the multiple different students in our classroom. So it ranged from a student with Williams syndrome, with both of us have never worked before, to students with no academic concerns and just behavior concerns. So it really was the gamut, and we had to plan for every single one of those students. And that's what we did. We just made magic, and we had some really great units of study that just kind of were amazing. For elementary school folks out there, we did a who would win study last year where they put two animals against each other and they decide who wins based on the strengths and weaknesses of the animals.
Yeah.
And then we also did in second grade, we did a bird study where, we studied one type of bird in our region, and man, oh man, those kids loved it, especially our little boy with Williams syndrome. He could talk about woodpeckers for the rest of his life if we gave him the opportunity. But then we introduced the Who Would Win study, and now his big thing is snakes and iguanas. So it's like, we took these curriculum pieces that kind of came from Kim's curriculum brain and tailored them to our students.
And I think the magic, right, between two teachers is we were good at tag teaming. We could say to each other, I can't figure this out with so-and-so. It's not working. Can you try? And then we would sort of tag, you're it. It's not working for me. You try something else. And I think that was the magic in our classroom, was that flexibility and that give and take where we could say to each other, I can't figure this out right now. And we would just switch it off and change the groups. We were constantly changing our small groups and our partnerships or who's working with who. And it was just a very flexible classroom.
When dealing with just this varied a population, it probably is nice to know you're not going in alone, that you have somebody there that is going to be with you to to just
Good and the bad.
Yeah, and even if it's just across the room where the two of you can look at each other and go, oh.
Oh, we did that a lot this year.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
There were a lot of exchanged looks over students, with the students. Like, it was just a crazy year, but it helps when our personalities mesh together as teachers, but also as humans. That's another really helpful thing. We're both flexible people, ready to just do the work that we have to do, even if it overlaps into our personal lives. Kim loves to call me in July and tell me an idea for September. I'm like, I just got to the pool. Call you later. Like, call me in September. So.
But I think that's the amazing thing about it, is we push each other, and then we're also there for each other. Teaching's hard, and teaching, kids with different classifications and different IEPs, it's hard work. And when you have somebody else to support you, when you can support each other, it's pretty magical for the kids, right? And for us, but for the kids, where we see this incredible progress over time.
And we always keep our door open, which has led us to great discoveries, like the great Robin Pegg. We have used, I would say, 80,000% of her ideas and some. So the collaboration where she can come in and observe for a day, even with kids without Williams syndrome, she's like, this sounds like it was something that would work. And then we had the collaboration of the parents. We're big on parent involvement, parent engagement. So it was just altogether a really great situation for the students.
In your classroom, is it just the two of you, or do you have sometimes some paras as well in there?
Yeah, we started the year with 2 paras. Yeah, that's how we ended too. We kind of transitioned the para from a 3-to-1 to a 1-to-1 for the student with Williams syndrome. We just decided it was best based on his progress.
How are the discussions with parents when you're dealing with the parents of the kids with the disabilities, as well as the neurotypical and physically typical kids?
Yeah, and I don't really know how, because I don't think I'm able to reflect on the year we had yet, but I'm not really sure how we're able to. But something between our partnership, the paras we worked with, we were able to we had a tough behavior class this year, and we were able to still get all our work done. And parents said how well we did. Like, the kids would come home, neurotypical and not, and would say, hey, guess what? Someone did this, this, and this today. And the teachers would be like, the parents would be like, we didn't even know that was going on based on the products that were being sent home. Like, it was never a complaint. It was always a compliment. I don't really know. Kim, you want to talk more about it? Like, how did we manage that? I don't know.
I think we were always very willing to communicate at any moment, right? So at any time, whether it was a student with an IEP or a student without, we would communicate very openly with parents and very often with parents, whether it was about the curriculum we were doing and why, or it was about, a complaint or a problem a parent was having. So we were always, very open to face a problem or a feeling a parent had sort of upfront. And as soon as we would ask the parent to come in immediately, or we would get on the phone with them immediately. So we sort of, were very open with our families, and we also invited them in. Often they were in our classroom so they could see, right? We were proud of our classroom and how it ran, and the routines that we had in place and the work that we were doing. And many, many parents who were kind of on the fence about, a classroom like ours in the beginning changed, because they were like, this is a beautiful thing, and they realized, what went into our classroom and how much the kids learned from being in a co-teach classroom like we had. So, I think it's having open communication and then letting them see it for what it is, and seeing the work that we do. And really, we invited our parents in multiple times over the course of the year. And I'm a very big believer in that, because I'm proud of what we do. And I think when you have some negativity and then they see what's happening in the classroom, then you can turn that negativity around pretty quickly.
And we were also very open to suggestions. Like, some teachers wouldn't get advice from parents, but we'd be open to it. Like, our student with Williams syndrome, we researched, we did things, but we didn't know about the Williams Association the Williams Syndrome Association until the parent brought it to us. So look at this. Look at all these resources. Look at this Robin Peg lady. And we were like, sure, give it to us. Like we wanted to see what was best for our student. And we just took it in, and we weren't like, oh no, we know better. We're teachers. No, we were like, that's an amazing resource. Thank you. So
it's having an open mind, right? It's, if someone brings a resource to us, we never see, just because it's coming from a parent doesn't mean that we can't use it. We're learning along with the kids. So we were open to all suggestions and resources that would work, for us. And, Robin Peg was an incredible resource for us. And I would love to have more of her, right? She was not just useful for our student with Williams syndrome. She had good suggestions just in general for collaborative co-teach.
Yeah, she's awesome. So what were some of the unique challenges you guys faced as teachers having someone with Williams syndrome in your classroom?
Yeah, it was, there was, as common with students with Williams syndrome, a big personality. So there was no need for kind of any type of social work. He was like the mayor. Everybody kind of knows him in the classroom.
We are social butterflies.
Yes. This guy definitely was, he'd ask you questions if you had African masks at home to the assistive tech guy that's only met him once. So like, he was very social. Yeah. So we didn't need to make him feel part of the classroom. He was already there. The challenges, I would say, were keeping up with the curriculum, because curriculum doesn't wait for anybody.
Nope.
They don't take into the curriculum, the standards. We're in New York State. We had state tests this year. So we had to find ways to make his learning just as meaningful, while, loosely sticking to the curriculum. We found, this is a segue into the para conversation, is that we started him with a 3-to-1 para, which was sufficient for second grade. Moving into third grade, though, as the curriculum really picks up pace, and the state test is there, and there's more reading, writing, math, we just felt that we didn't want him getting left behind because he couldn't keep up with the curriculum. So, we had this conversation many times with Robin Peg, with the parents, that, sometimes you with a para of any student, there's this learned helplessness, and we wanted to avoid that with our friend, but we wanted him to be successful academically. So, we made it clear with our para. Luckily, we had this gift para who was also a former teacher and just wanted to fill her days, who made a connection with our friend really quickly and was able to keep that boundary of, no, you do it yourself, but let me show you how. Yeah. So we really were able to scaffold the curriculum, give him that repeated practice while still trying to build his independence.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Robin called them soft skills for the classroom. And this year we really bolstered them. That's like following routines by himself, using assistive tech appropriately. So there were definitely challenges, but I would say the challenges didn't come from the student. It came from the curriculum and the pace of curriculum.
I can understand that.
And I think we were working really hard this year to help our student with Williams syndrome to become independent, because third graders become more independent as the year progresses. So we were trying to find, really some good successful ways to help bolster his independence so that he can develop the routines in our classroom like the other third graders did. I think this team approach that you're talking about, right? Like when, we would see a challenge in the classroom, it wouldn't just be the two of us trying to figure out the challenge. We would pull the parents in too and say, look, we see this happening. We're telling you, we're being honest. This is what we're seeing. This is a bump in the road. What do you have any ideas? Because we're trying to figure this out. And sometimes a parent had a better idea than we did, because they know their kid really well from being home with them, So, I think it's that team approach that, works really well when you see a challenge with a student in our classroom.
It sounds like you are the same, but parents being advocates goes a long way in a school district, because at the end of the day, a teacher can say what a teacher wants to say, but when it comes from the parent, it sometimes holds more weight. Mm-hmm. So when this little guy's parents would come in and say to administration, or yeah, let's do this. There was more follow through.
One of the things that I've talked about with other families and specifically other dads is an involved dad often can be a huge part of getting some things done, because an involved dad is still something of a rarity. The moms, by and large, in their children's education, special education journey, that change of energy when a dad comes in does change things. Am I off base on that?
No, I think Zoom has kind of made that problem a little less prominent. We always have like our CSE meetings on Zoom, which we get more parent participation. But you do still see more moms in the scene than dads. But in this case, this little guy's dad was, just number one supporter. He's 1B and mom's 1A. And he did a really great job of echoing mom in a way that was more to the point. He wasn't going to beat around the bush to say, I think maybe we should. He would just say, this is what my guy needs, and this is why I think it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did see a lot of his involvement in it. And I mean, it was good to have him involved. He was on all of our email chains. He was on all of our messages.
Yeah.
He came to all our meetings, whether he was in this little corner office thing where he looked like he was in a tent doing the meeting. So we did see a lot of involvement from him. Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. I think, if a dad can be, involved in meetings or, decision making, because I think at times moms can get emotionally charged, right? Not that dads can't, but moms can be more emotionally attached, and, all the discussions can come from emotions, and then dads can sort of detach that a little bit more. I mean, I have my own child with sensory processing disorder. My husband always came to meetings, and he was always that. When I started, with a special ed background, I would start getting emotionally charged, and my husband could get right in there and bring that sort of black and white back to the discussion, So, I think having dads in conversations as much as possible is really, really important.
How does having a student with Williams syndrome and those unique challenges, how does that affect the way the two of you approach children with other developmental disabilities and often disabilities that present themselves maybe in a more aggressive or challenging way?
Yeah, I mean, he taught us a lot about a lot of things. He taught us his mom does a presentation for us every spring. We have this week called Building Bridges, where essentially it's building bridges between typical kids and kids with disabilities. And the phrase is, Williams syndrome students have unique challenges and something strengths. I don't remember.
Yeah, extraordinary gifts, unique.
Yeah, which he used both of in the classroom and taught us a lot. There's a lot of teacher moves that we've learned from him and from the 2 years we worked with him that we will carry on. Things like a literal quick post-it checklist, get your stuff done by yourself. We'll check back with you in 5 minutes. To his amazing knowledge and interest in cultures and masks, and just letting them bring that into their everyday life. Mom and dad help with that. They take them to, places where there's an African mask museum, and then he comes back and reports to the class, and it's like he's our own little specialty guy. So we learned a lot, teacher moves and just like building our practice as best as he can.
Yeah. I
think the one thing I really learned is that engagement piece, right? When you connect something that he can hook onto, for example, the bird study, that you get that engagement piece from him, and then, the rest is history. He's learning to read and write and all those soft skills through that engagement. So I think, that's a big thing that we always talked about is what are we going to do to hook, our student to keep him engaged and keep him moving through the process.
Do you remember your elementary school years?
I do. Elementary school years were they were fun. It's as I got towards, high school and those years where it wasn't that great.
Yeah,
How I found out that I got diagnosed was I actually had a special resource room teacher who watched a documentary on Williams syndrome and was like, oh my God. And then called my mom, and then my mom talked to the school nurse, and then she watched the documentary and was like, so I wasn't diagnosed with Williams syndrome until I was almost 13, which is very rare because usually people with Williams syndrome get diagnosed anywhere from 3 to 6 months or at birth.
Yeah.
So it was, a whole life-changing experience. And I got, I had the fish test and got diagnosed that way.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so you went through elementary school sort of with a general developmental
learning disability.
Yeah, great. I can see where that would add a challenge to and another layer of challenge to everybody's plate, yours and the.
I can't imagine. Like, there were things about Williams syndrome, and I know our time's up, but there were things about Williams syndrome.
It's okay.
That were so specific to Williams syndrome. It's in a minor key. Right. And it would make our student cry. And we were like, what are you crying for? And then Robin's like, minor keys make them upset. And like that just changed our entire perspective about certain things. Like one sound made him cry just because of the sound it was making. So I can only imagine like being in elementary school, being confused because you're not really sure what's happening.
Yeah. See, the funny thing is like, I like minor keys, but I also like major keys too.
Okay. So. Interesting. Yeah, it's
because I'm a musician. So
do you remember when you were younger, Brendan? Excuse me, when you were younger, was it this? What did you like minor keys when you were, say, in your single digit years? Do you have any memories of that?
Sarah McLachlan would always make.
Well, yeah. I mean, anyone, but yeah.
Yeah. She would, but I've gotten better with it over the years. I still get emotional listening to her songs sometimes, but I've kind of got a grasp on it now.
Yep. Did you say you were a musician?
Yes.
Because that's one of the things we didn't talk about. Our little guy, his music is his jam. He will find anything and make it a drum. Yep. So, just to hear that you became a musician is just amazing,
Yeah, it's been pretty much my entire life. I started out when I used to get physically and violently sick from loud noises because I have hyperacusis, which is sensitivity to a lot of loud noises. And when I was 3, my parents got me a drum set, which helped me get over somewhat the sound of loud noises, and I never looked back. So I've been playing music for almost 33 years now.
That's amazing.
Well, again, can't thank you both enough. I also just want to thank you for your curiosity, for your willingness to just be open and to say, I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna be open to it. And that curiosity is a big part of what helps everybody succeed.
This is really cool.
Yeah. Can't thank the both of you enough for the work that you're doing and for joining today.
Yeah.
No problem. It was great. It was great to talk to you guys. And, this boy definitely changed both of our lives, teaching and personally as humans. So it was a great 2 years, and we'll definitely be following along his journey and, the Williams Syndrome Association.
You've been listening to The Starry-Eyed Effect, presented by the Williams Syndrome Association. The show is hosted by Jennifer Keaton, Brendan Lemieux, and Stephanie Karen, and produced by me, Joel Listman. Theme song by Tommy Barbarella and Mariella Elm. Got a question for the show? Email us at podcast@williams-syndrome.org. Video version of the podcast available on YouTube at the Williams Syndrome Association channel. Review us on Apple Podcasts, and maybe it will get featured on a future episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to The Starry-Eyed Effect wherever you get your podcast delights.